Welcome to Talking Giants, presented by John Boy Media. I'm your host, Bobby Skinner, here with my co-host, Justin Pennick. We got our defensive back review, so both cornerbacks and safeties we'll be reviewing on the show today. And the Giants signed Jonotthan Harrison, which we'll end up starting out with. But Justin, how do you do? And we just finished an interview, which will probably come out on Friday. How are you?
Yeah, excited for that interview. It was a lot of fun. We'll talk more about it on Friday's show. Doing well.
Player.
College player. Yes, not a Giants player interview, which I think it's new, it's different. We got some Giants players hopefully lined up this offseason too. Bobby Skinner, I am good. I'm doing well. A big snowstorm on the East Coast if you're in the tri-state area. It's the big talk of the town. You don't get to experience that.
Well, we got winds. I mean, it's been windy down here. So, I mean, I feel you. I mean, we got winds of like over 20 miles an hour. So, I mean, we're dealing with our own weather down here.
You put out a video of you peeing in snow from a previous event today.
Yep, that was when I was up in the Catskills last year. And not even 2019. It was in December 2019. Lost maybe 10 followers from it. I don't care.
Well, not as bad as me talking bad about Bruce Springsteen.
That makes sense.
Yeah. A lot of people like to talk about how pretty snow is. And you just took all that talk about, oh, look at the snow, look at how nice it is, look at my car, look at how my car is not here because of all the snow. You took all that talk and you literally pissed on it physically and metaphorically.
It's fun. Snow is fun. Like, I like snowball fights. I was in Minnesota. I grew to hate snow, but the initial snow is fun. So I'm glad all you New Yorkers are experiencing that this week.
Then it's going to get gross. It's going to get gross and black and brown and maybe even yellow if you come up and just piss everywhere.
Some people that are experiencing snow. Well, Neil Kumar. He's going to White Castle.
And yeah, I was about to say, any relation to Harold and Kumar? Probably not.
Maybe. We got Mosey Matalone. Mosey Matalone. I don't know what.
Say it like you're a New Yorker.
I can't do it. I don't know what that name is. And now people are starting to give us fake names, which is cool, I guess, but it also makes it really hard to send out your envelopes. We got Pong Stars. So I just put Talking Giants Patreon. We got Combat Sports Geek, who I actually had a good conversation with him the other day. He's a geek for combat sports, if you hadn't guessed.
Sure.
And then Michael Campriati.
There you
Michael
go.
Campriati. So that's 5 people. Justin, who are these yellow snow eating fellas?
You don't really want to do that, but those people who are yellow snow eaters went to patreon.com after they ate yellow snow. They went to patreon.com/Talking Giants. And for $2 a month, they support us. You know what the deal is. You get to see us hang out with Bobby and I as we record the shows. It's going to get kind of big and important soon, like in a month. Bobby, when's free agency? It feels like it's a million years away, but it's also not.
Yeah, but free agency hits in a little over a month. I'm starting to kick in the high gear with draft stuff post Senior Bowl. I'll be posting draft videos every single day. My goal is to do one breakdown a day. Which, that's we'll end up with 60, 70 breakdowns on the channel. So that's good for business. Mock draft stuff. So coming back from the Senior Bowl, I'm rested, relaxed, and good to go. How'd you enjoy Sunday with no football? Because I did enjoy. You obviously will miss it, but I did enjoy it because I feel productive on Sundays with no football. Like, I feel super productive.
Tough question for me. I was at a funeral. Tough question. No, but I do sometimes feel nice that there's a break. You said it perfectly. I think you said it on like Simple Man Radio where, 2 months from now, we're going to be craving football. But a break in, I don't know. Football's an intense sport. It's not like baseball where you can just like sit back and just like, oh, there's 162 of these. No, football's an intense sport where even in a 16-game season with so many different teams, the season's very short. And even if it's not your favorite team, you're kind of on the edge of your seat just watching football. Who's going to win? Who's going to take care of business? So it was a nice little break, and then excited for Super Bowl. We're going to save this for Friday. Who do we have for Super Bowl we're going to save?
Yeah, let's save it for Friday. We'll do
Yeah.
picks on Friday. Maybe we'll call Danny up and get his. Um, the Giants, they signed somebody. They signed an offensive lineman, a center named Jonotthan Harrison, Justin. It's a 1-year deal up to $2 million per Ian Rappaport, but our guy Ryan Dunleavy said that it's basically a $1.2 million deal with incentives that could get the $2 million. So I'm assuming it's probably $500,000 per start or something. He's 6'4", 300 pounds, 29 years old. He was a Florida Gator, so we have another Florida Gator center on the roster. You know, John Halapio will represent. Last season, he spent on the practice squad with the Buffalo Bills. The 3 years before that with the Jets, he had 19 starts with them. And then the 3 seasons before that, 2014 to 16, he had 23 starts with the Indianapolis Colts. Justin, I watched his film. I broke down his film. Here's what I'll say he is, and then we'll talk about what his role is on the New York Giants. He's strong. He has good leverage in the run game. He's good in the run game. He struggles to get like moving and get his feet around on outside blocks, but that fits the Giants scheme. We know that they don't run a ton of outside zone. It is a lot of, combo blocks on the inside. So, there's not a ton of that. In the pass game, he picks up the blitz and stunts good enough. He's not great against big nose tackles, but you don't really face big nose tackles a ton in the NFL anymore. So, Justin, what I think this signing means is that he'll be the backup center and Spencer Pulley will be cut. Spencer Pulley has a $2.7 million cap hit with 0 dead cap. I think Jonotthan Harrison will be the backup center, and Spencer Pulley probably won't be on the New York Giants come opening day this season.
That's the reasonable take, and I would tend to agree with you because he was signed to a futures deal. And what a futures deal is, just in case you may not know what is a futures deal? Why are the Giants signing people now before free agency when it's the end of the season? So what exactly that is when a player is signed to a futures deal before the official start of the new league year, which I believe is in the beginning of March, that player that they signed to a futures deal was either a free agent during the previous season, the 2020 season, or they were on the practice squad. Basically, they were not on an active roster. They could have been maybe on a team, but just not on the main 53-man roster. So I saw some crazy conversations happening on Giants Twitter, Bobby. Now, I know nothing's going on, so this is just social media where people need to talk about now and they need to have the hot take now, and I understand that. I saw some wild conversations about he could start at center. The Giants found their starting center. If this is like our expectation that the Giants found their starting center and we just look at whatever we want to look at, we want to look at one play of him pancaking Leonard Williams, which I was very mad at you for posting, by the way. Very mad at you for posting that.
I didn't post the BJ Hill one either. But he pancaked BJ Hill too.
I'm not mad at you for that. Not mad at you for that. I'm mad at you for posting Leonard Williams. How dare you disrespect our king, my king. But when a guy is not on an active roster to end the season or really at any point during the 2020 season, when he's on a practice squad or he's a free agent, that should not be our expectation as Giants fans to be like, okay, yeah, that's our starting center just because Ian Rappaport said that we paid him $2 million. Now I know this is a minority of fans, not the majority, but I saw it too much where I was like, I have to comment on this because it makes no sense. We shouldn't expect that.
No, you shouldn't. I do think he's better than Spencer Pulley though. But my mind does go through every scenario. Is maybe, there's a good chance Kevin Zeitler is gone. It's just the reality. That doesn't even mean I agree with it, but there's a good chance he's gone. And I said it yesterday that Nick Gates, what Nick Gates is going to have to deal with now that he played good at tackle, guard, and center, is every time a Giants sign anybody, there's going to be talk about Nick Gates' position switch or don't sign anybody. There's going to be talk about will Nick Gates switch his position, which is a good thing to have. And the Giants they are a team that truly does value versatility. A lot of teams preach it. The Giants live it. So my mind thinks, okay, well, maybe they have their eye on a center in the draft. Maybe they like a guy like Landon Dickerson out of Alabama, and maybe they want to move Gates out to guard. But you want to have someone who could possibly start if that guy's not up to speed to start a center. So I don't think that's what this is. I think this is him truly just the plan is for him to be the backup center. But I do think he's good enough to where, let's say they do move Gates to guard and draft a center in the second or third round, where it's a legit battle between those two players. But in reality, I really do think it's simply Gates is going to be the starting center, Harrison will be the backup guard, and they're going to figure out guard, whether that's keeping Zeitler or using Hernandez and Lemieux, figuring out what guard is to do. So I do agree with you where I think it's just simply, I think he's simply the backup center.
Yeah, it's a move where at worst you save $700,000 in cap space, right? Well, is Spencer Pulley, how much dead money is associated to Spencer Pulley? Probably not a lot, right? Zero.
If Harrison plays every game, and fills all his incentives, like you said, it'll be a 700,000. If not, it'll be like a 1.5 million savings.
Yeah, which you take that, and if and not saying that he's a bad player, that's not.
I think he's better than Pulley, which doesn't say much, but it is what it is.
And then you can get $1.5 million more dollars in value out of him versus having Spencer Pulley on the roster, which it seems like the Giants have guys on the roster right now that play games. Gates played all 16 games last year. Thomas played him. And Dave Gettleman has also prioritized when he signs guys and when he brings guys in. Say what you want about some of his moves. The guys that he brings in, they play games and they typically have a very good. And this is kind of a plus where you don't want to sign guys who are constantly hurt. You don't want to do that.
You know what it does do that I don't like is, if there is a guy I like in the draft, but he may have some injury concern, I'm like, I don't think we're going to draft this guy. Like Landon Dickerson, I mentioned him. I don't think we're going to draft him. He's got injury concerns.
No,
so
wasn't that the guy that came in? Wasn't that the guy that came in during the kneel down when they won the national championship?
I think Alabama's best offensive lineman. I think he's better than Deontay Brown and Leatherwood, but he has injury, history.
Quick question about Deontay Brown.
Go for it.
There was some bad plays in the Senior Bowl. Did he really really hurt his draft stock Senior Bowl week, but especially the game?
I think people are falling in love with the way he looks, which I get. Yeah.
He's a meme. He's a walking meme of a hog molly.
He looks like a boulder. He is like cookie cutter guard size. But there's no beating around the bush. He struggles with the pass rush. He's good in the run game, but I don't think he's also like super dominant in the. I don't think he's like Mekhi Becton. Like watching him in the run game is like makes you pump your fist. Deontay Brown doesn't do that, so I'm not in full bloom love with Deontay Brown like a lot of people are. So, but I'm also a dummy. So that's that.
That's that.
So Jonotthan Harrison, welcome to the Giants. He's now making the New York trifecta. Jets, Bills, and now the Giants. He's like pure muscle too. Like he's like 300 pounds of like pure muscle.
I have to look up a picture.
So welcome to the team, Jono the Bono. Anything else on this?
I'm looking up a picture of him right now. Oh yeah, nice forearms, nice defined shoulders. It amazes me. I'm looking at a picture right now. I'll see if I can show it. Let me decrease my brightness. It always amazes me to see how offensive linemen, and especially centers, can have the flexibility to squat down so low, close to the ground. So I always get amazed with a offensive lineman that can do that. See, this is what happens when you ask me, do you have anything else to say? Just really get derailed. Don't do that ever again.
Please don't have anything else on this. All right, nothing else before we do our DB review. Although I will say, Osi when you were crashing the Jason Pierre-Paul media thing was maybe the most heartwarming thing of all time. Watching those two just be like the brotherhood they have. I mean, that clip was maybe like clip of the year worthy. Like just like the way they were they're brothers. Like that was an awesome moment.
JPP has the largest smile in America.
Oh my gosh, dude. I mean, it was like from like his forehead to, his chest. I mean, just hearing Osi El Capitan, like they were I mean, they're brothers. And then OC's like, I don't even have a question, man. I just wanted to say what's up. And they started cracking up. So that was good stuff. That was a good clip. So all right, let's
Eli and another commercial.
Another commercial, Super Bowl commercial for Frito-Lay's. Pretty good one. Throwing footballs to the wall. Check that out. Justin, let's do the DB review.
Yeah.
Let's start with the cornerbacks. I mean, this position was an upgrade from 2020, from 2019 to 2020. I mean, this position was upgraded severely. I mean, basically every single spot was an upgrade. James Bradberry upgrade over Janoris Jenkins. Darnay Holmes upgrade over the nickel corners they spot. And you can argue that Isaac Eden was an upgrade over Deandre Baker. Not to say that if Deandre Baker didn't get in trouble and stay healthy like that, he wouldn't have been an upgrade over Eden, because I think he would have been. But Eden did pretty good towards the end of the season after struggling to start the season, and Ballantyne obviously was cut. And Justin, it all starts with James Bradberry, 2020 free agent edition. He's 6'1", 212 pounds, 27 years old. He's on the books until 2022, where he has a 16.5 mil cap hit and a 3 mil dead cap. So if James Bradberry starts sucking out of nowhere, they can cut him. I don't see it happening. His advanced stats: 56 catches on 91 targets, 61.5%, 594 yards, 4 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. That touchdown number doesn't feel right. The only 2 I can remember is Mike Evans versus Tampa and Juju Smith in Pittsburgh, but that doesn't count.
I have the game log right here. 2 against Pittsburgh.
See, he didn't give up 2 versus Pittsburgh.
1 against Tampa. And 1 against Baltimore.
I don't remember the one versus Baltimore. But anyways, he had 18 passes defended, which was second in the NFL. His average depth of target was 9.6, which was way better than 2019, where it was 12.6, and then the year before that, where it's 13.6. I mean, he shut guys down. Allen Robinson, 3 catches, 33 yards. Amari Cooper, 2 catches, 23 yards. Really, the only guy who got him was DeAndre Hopkins, and it wasn't even like, oh, they're 1-on-1. It was like they were forcing, Bradberry to cover deep, and Hopkins would go short. Metcalf, he did good against him, where I think he only had like 60 yards against him. James Bradberry has an argument to have been the best cornerback in the NFL. He was a Pro Bowler. He should have been an All-Pro. He was dominant. He's quiet and dominant. And I had him as the Giants' defensive MVP. I thought he was the most valuable player on this defense, Justin, because he allowed the New York Giants to do things. They allowed them to help out their cornerback too. They allowed them to, let your linebackers do this, your run game do this, because you trusted Bradberry and Allen to do his thing. You never had to worry about Bradberry. There was never one game where it's like, man, they're getting after Bradberry. There wasn't a single one. He was such a luxury for this New York Giants defense.
Yeah, Bobby, to kind of just start off vague for a second, talking about the secondary as a whole, because I think talking about the secondary as a whole and how they performed ultimately is a testament to the addition of James Bradberry and what he did. So according to DVOA, which is basically an efficiency metric, it's another way to look at effectiveness of a defense or effectiveness of any player, a group, a team, outside of just looking at total yards allowed. So Giants defense as a whole were the 19th ranked defense according to DVOA. They were the 22nd ranked defense according to 22nd ranked defense in passing DVOA. So you would think, oh, that's a little much. You would think that they would be a little bit better. But when you consider that the Giants defense allowed a decent amount of yards per drive, they allowed a lot of time of possession per drive. But what they ultimately did is when it came down to the red zone, they bunkered down and they were a top half in the National Football team, top half defense in National Football League and not allowing points. So the main stat that I feel like that categorizes the Giants defense's transformation from 2019 to 2020, you know where I'm going. If you listen to this, you've heard me say it a million times, but this was the final tally from this year in terms of the Giants' explosive play rankings about how many times the defense allowed a pass play of 15 yards plus. In 2019, the Giants ranked 29th in the National Football League in allowing passing plays of 15 plus yards. That is very, very bad. This year, they were fifth. They were the fifth best defense in the National Football League in allowing explosive pass plays of 15 plus yards. They were the fifth best. That does not happen, in my opinion, without James Bradberry. Without having that guy, and Bobby, you kind of said this too, without having that guy on one side of the field where you know that even if a guy looks like he's open, or even if you target him, nothing is going to happen. Nothing productive consistently is going to happen. Now, my main worry about Bradberry heading into the year is, he gets targeted. 2018, he had 113 targets. 2019, he had 97 targets. It was kind of a similar worry that I had for Logan Ryan. The guy just gets targeted a lot. But it's crazy how 91 targets, that was the least amount that he's had the last 3 years, which for a number one corner, I don't think that's bad. I don't think that's terrible to allow 91 targets. But I've even kind of changed my frame of thinking for what I would prefer my number one corner to be, Bobby. We wanted Byron Jones in free agency. Well, Byron Jones gets targeted 60 times, 70 times. Well, if you have such a lockdown number one corner, everyone else is getting targeted. A guy like Yadam was going to get targeted. A guy like Holmes was going to get targeted. So having quarterbacks still feel comfortable that they can throw on James Bradberry, but making those pass deflections and making those plays, that is such a valuable piece to this defense that when you target him, there is a decent chance that the play will not be productive at all because he's going to force that incompletion.
Yeah, I mean, I like the James Bradberry signing. Like, I thought like this was when that happened, I was like, this is a great signing by Dave Gettleman. And it exceeded my expectations for all those reasons you just mentioned. You stopped the big plays. It didn't force other teams to totally go against other teams, but he has the leading second in pass deflections in the NFL, has the 3 interceptions, caused another interception that went to Julian Love against Chicago. That interception against Allen Robinson was kind of unreal. Like, I still don't understand how it happened. Don't explain to me how it happened. We understand how it happened. He should have been an all-pro, Justin. And he makes me, because I have embraced this idea of like, hey, make your strength your strength. He has made it to where it's like, man, I wouldn't be mad if we got Patrick Surtain in the first round, or get a cornerback and then be like, man, now we have Bradberry and this corner, and you got Holmes in the slot. Bradberry makes me want to do that, like embrace that make your strength the strength type thing.
It's funny because I was kind of, for a couple weeks there last offseason, I was on your train of thought where I was like, ooh, give me like Okudah, maybe. So I'm not there because of Jason Garrett and how bad the offense is. But the thing that honestly blows my mind about Bradberry's season, including, not just including, how many targets he gets and how many pass deflections, how many incompletions he forces, but again, go through the resume of the wide receivers that he faced this year. Terry McLaurin twice, Amari Cooper twice, Seattle DK Metcalf, Arizona DeAndre Hopkins, Pittsburgh, they have some good wide receivers over there too. Chicago, Allen Robinson. And the fact that he ended the season with an average depth of target, typically your number one wide receivers are being targeted deep down the field. And the fact that he ended this year with an average depth of target of 9.5 yards, where when James Bradberry was being targeted in the pass game, it was on average 9.5 yards down the field versus what you typically would want your number one wide receiver to be targeted past the sticks, let's say in a 1st and 10, 2nd and 10. That's amazing. That's incredible. And when you compare it to 2018 and 2019, it was 13.6 in 2018 average depth of target. In 2019, it was 12.1. That is a dramatic step down in a very positive way.
Yeah. He's an all-pro corner. He was underrated because he played in Carolina. All-pro corner. Real deal. Gettleman, draft another cornerback like that and we'll be happy. I mean, the guy's real deal. You got anything else on him besides
I'm scared of drafting
the way he squats down?
No. I did not have any notes on James Bradberry, how he squatted down this year. So no.
Okay. All right. Next, let's talk about Darnay Holmes, our nickel corner, 5'10", 195 pounds, 22 years old. Was a 4th round pick out of UCLA. He's Cali. Cool. He played 12 games, 33 catches on 44 targets, 343 yards, 0 touchdowns, 1 interception, 5 passes defended. No touchdowns allowed. He gave less than 3 catches per game from that nickel spot because he only played 12 games. And Justin, Valentine Haley the year before gave up 735 yards. We said it this year. I don't think we talk about it enough that we have a nickel corner. Like we have our nickel corner. It's been a while. It's been a struggle. It was this team's biggest weakness. Last season, like the weakness of the 2019 Giants was like the nickel corner spot. And a team with a lot of weaknesses, that was the biggest weakness, was the nickel corner spot. Grant Haley was horrible. Teams would gash us from the nickel spot. And then you put Corey Ballantyne in. And granted, James Betcher didn't do him any favors by letting him go up against number 1 wide receivers in the slot and got gassed there. I mean, nickel corner it's a hard spot to find. And we got a rookie in the 4th round who played really well his rookie season. Like he went up against CeeDee Lamb, was playing well. You think of like, he had some penalties that weren't great early in the season, but man, Darnay Holmes is a nickel corner, man, and he's here to stay. Darnay Holmes is here to stay. Like I feel so confident in him going into year 2. I'm not worried about a drop off. Like Darnay Holmes is a legit nickel corner, and he just plays like you could tell he's got that confidence. Like he's got that confidence that he's out there and he's that guy. He's not worried about anything, even if he does have a bad play. It's not gonna stress him. You could argue that he was the rookie of the year for the Giants. I mean, he balled out,
and he's only going to get better, right? Like our main worry heading into this season, and I think as Giants fans, and if you go back and you listen to our shows, it'll be like, oh, Bobby and Justin are kind of stupid idiots for saying prepare for a Darnay Holmes letdown period before maybe things get better. But as Giants fans, and I even think NFL fans, like you watch rookie cornerbacks, this does not happen. This does not happen. Okudah, who was the most proven, most polished guy, he even struggled his rookie year, I believe. I'm not watching every Okudah play, but he struggled his rookie year. Rookie corner struggled. This is very, very rare to have somebody come out and be a plus for a team. Darnay Holmes was a plus for this team. And I think we were just so petrified of seeing Grant Haley struggle. Granted, he was an undrafted free agent. We were so accustomed to seeing Deandre Baker struggle. Rookie year. Eli Apple, he struggled. He kind of sucked throughout his entire tenure for the Giants and for the large majority. So we were just so accustomed to being scared about what rookie corners can do. And instead, we were pleasantly surprised.
Well, corner is the one position where you could have a terrible rookie season. And I want to say not worried is how you feel, but it's like you get it, you understand it. Like it's the only position where it's like you can have a horrible rookie season, like just putrid, and you're like, you know what, it happens at the cornerback spot. I mean, even James Bradberry's rookie season wasn't good with Carolina. So the fact that he was able to come out and do it and have some big plays, he had the interception, he had the pass deflection to Nico Lelos, he had that that nice play on CeeDee Lamb in the first Dallas game.
Yep.
So he has memorable plays, and he's Cali cool. He's cool. He's cool.
He's also a good guy. If you go back and you listen to did we talk about him in the Zach Rosenblatt episode? No, I don't think we got to him.
No, we talked about him a lot. We didn't talk about somebody else.
Oh, we didn't talk about somebody else. Yeah, he's a really good guy, really hard worker, really gets along with Logan Ryan. Him and Logan Ryan carpooled to work together, to the facility together. So he was able to feed off of him. Logan Ryan was also a successful slot corner in his career too. So I really think, this is why, when we talk about the value of Logan Ryan, which we'll talk about him soon, Darnay Holmes was ultimately felt that value of that veteran leadership. And I know sometimes it's kind of cliche about veteran leadership, but I don't know if Darnay Holmes is the same kind of player without the guidance of Logan Ryan.
Yeah, I mean, Logan Ryan played that spot and was really good at that spot for a long time. So I'm sure it helped a little bit, and having Patrick Graham as a coach. All right, let's move on to the other corner, a cornerback number 2, Justin. Maybe the worst starter on the team, which this year doesn't feel as bad as past years. And Isaac Edom, 6'1", 190 pounds, 25 years old in 2 weeks. He was traded for a 7th-round pick. He was a 3rd-round pick by the Broncos. He is locked up for this year on a $900,000 contract. Justin, he started the year splitting time with Ballantyne against Pittsburgh and Chicago, although Ballantyne got the majority of the reps. He sucked in that 49ers game. They played Ryan Lewis more towards the end. Ryan Lewis more the next game. Then he was benched for 4 weeks. Like there's 3 weeks where he played 0% of the snaps because of Ryan Lewis. Then Ryan Lewis gets hurt. He starts the last 9 games, and you feel good about his last 9 games, Justin. I mean, his stats on the year: 37 completions on 60 targets, 61% completion rating, 487 yards. Now his touchdown interception ratio is by far the worst of anybody on the team. 6 touchdowns, 0 interceptions, 5 passes defended. He was serviceable. He was a serviceable cornerback too. You weren't worried about him. So somebody has to be the worst player on the defense, and I was fine with Isaac Edom being that at the end of the year, Justin.
I just got an exciting email that work is giving us off tomorrow. We're not working from home, so yay for me. Bobby,
maybe you stop complaining about having to go till midnight on Talking Giants.
You know what? I really want to say a bad word to you right now, but I'm not going to. I'll say it to you off air. Bobby, I believe Edom was the one who allowed the big Terry McLaurin touchdown in the Washington game, correct?
Yes.
So
it was a combination of like 3 people, where it's like they all like hit him at one time.
But I think if you look on the game log and the advanced game log on Pro Football Reference, I think they gave him the yards. So let's do an exercise. And I hate to do this, but take out what I'm asking you to do in your evaluation of Isaac Edom. I'll never know the pronunciation of it. I want you to take out that one catch and that one play. So what? That was a 50 yard touchdown, 50 yard plus touchdown.
Yeah, at least 50.
Let's hypothetically say it's a 50 yard touchdown. So then 98 yards. So 487 total yards minus 98. Isaac Edom allowed, outside of that one Terry McLaurin play, let's say if it's a 50 yard touchdown, he allowed a total of 389 yards this year and 5 touchdowns. I think if you said before the season that our cornerback 2 would be allowing less than 400 yards in coverage, and again, we're taking out the one play in a win, by the way, we would be like, yes, sign me up. Why don't you say something about that while I look up how many yards Deandre Baker allowed last year?
Well, one, he didn't play all the games,
I know.
Like
So
he split reps, the first 2 weeks, and then he didn't really play at all for 4 weeks.
He played 60% of the snaps though, which is more than I thought.
Yeah, he started flat out started the last 9 games of the season, and then split the first 2 weeks. I mean, Ballantyne, we're not going to talk about him, but Ballantyne was like, we didn't have high expectations for Ballantyne, but they were worse than we thought they'd be. It's like, oh my God, like this guy's flat out horrible. Like Ballantyne, if Ballantyne's our starting corner for the season, I don't think we might not talk about this defense in the same light that we're talking about it right now.
Deandre Baker in 90% of this, he played 87% of the snaps last year, allowed 850 yards.
So let me do the math.
Do the math. So basically go take the one catch out. It's 389 for Edom. I'm going to say both variations. 389 yards, not include, without that Terry McLaurin touchdown.
I can't figure out how to do this math.
It's tough. Now. I know it's tough. I know, but I'm saying, I guess, my whole premise is in conjunction to the whole maybe draft a cornerback 2 or value a cornerback 2. I'm not going to lose my brain if the Giants make no moves in the secondary this offseason. I will not. I won't.
Me either. I mean, they'll add like a depth piece here, but yeah, they don't. There's no need like, hey, you got to go out and get a corner, especially with we'll talk about Love a little later too. Yeah, there's no like, hey, you have to go get a corner in the draft or get a corner in free agency. That's not there this year.
No, you're right. You're right. And I think taking out that one, that was just a bad game in general. That was the only game where Edom allowed over 80 yards total in receptions. And there wasn't a game where he even allowed over 10 targets. He had 2 games of 8 targets. That's not for a cornerback 2, which this guy was signed off the street versus what we have invested in cornerback in the past to get that production. I also think part of it's also Patrick Graham, where Patrick Graham did a good job with helping out Yadam. And that's why James Bradberry was still targeted so much, because kind of left them on an island and Bradberry can handle that. So again, that goes to your point about Bradberry. Bradberry helps out everyone on the defense.
Yep. Yeah. Like, I don't think Edom has the same success in the 2019.
No.
If you just replace Edom with, or replace Baker with him in 2019, I don't think you have the same success. So I agree. Like, part of it is even when Ballantyne was in there, like Graham did a pretty decent job hiding that. It was just Ballantyne was just, his sucking was on another level of sucking. One more only corner. Ryan Lewis started 4 games and that, and people are like, did we find our cornerback 2 of the future?
No.
We were kind of like pump the brakes. And something you talk about a ton is allowing big plays. What Ryan Lewis did, even though he got hurt, was allow big plays. And honestly, 2 big plays that lost us games. Like the Dallas big play, the Michael Gallup down the sideline from Andy Dalton. If that play doesn't happen, there's a good chance we win that game, Justin. And then Philly, the Thursday night against Philly. If he doesn't allow a big play down there, and it wasn't manned up, it was playing cover 3, where it's like, hey, you stop the big play. If those 2 don't happen, you can argue that the Giants win 8 games this season. So there's obviously more things that go into it than just Ryan Lewis giving up 2 big plays. But there's, he was hurt for one, but I don't see him being more than like the 5th corner going forward. His stats weren't bad though. 10 catches on 19 targets, 202 yards. That's the thing. Is like just 10 for 19 isn't bad, but it's like, okay, 10 yards per attempt and then 20 yards per completion against them. That's what's just brutally bad.
Yeah, I really do think Patrick Graham is very, very willing. And this ideology goes right in line with Bill Belichick's game plan approach to Super Bowl 25. Go check out Bleeding Blue, where we talk about that. Giants History Podcast.
Bam.
Free ad. But yeah, Patrick Graham's ideology for defense is, I don't care if you get a bunch of 4 or 5 yard gains here and there. I don't care. But it's the fact that when we allow, the big play of 20 yards and it gets you on the other side of the 50, or it gets you in the red zone, we have an issue and we have a problem. And if you're not in line with that, or if you are going to be the one that's going to mess up that ideology and that game plan approach, you're gone. And Ryan Lewis was gone. So tough.
You're not Yadam. You're gone. How about freaking that? How about freaking that? Keep on buying the shake and bake shirts. I think we sold a lot. And per sources, I think Joe Judge got some shirts. So per sources, the sources maybe me sending them to the Giants Stadium, but per sources. All right. That's it on the corners. Want to talk about the safeties? Do the safety dance?
Yeah. Important.
Who do you want to start with? I'm down to start with anybody. You can start with Peppers, Love, Ryan, McKinney.
Let's start with Peppers.
That's cool. I got Pep first on my list. Jabril Pepper's 5'11", 213 pounds, 25 years old. He had his 5th year option exercise. He has a $6.7 million cap hit this season. Last season under contract for the New York Giants. He obviously came over in that big trade from Odell Beckham Jr. with Dexter Lawrence and the other draft pick that turned into O'Shane Ximines. In 15 games, he had 91 tackles, 8 tackles for a loss, 2.5 sacks, 3 QB hits, and 1 interception. Truly a do-it-all type of player, Justin. And not just in the stat book. He played 2 high safety when he needed to. He played down in the box. He rushed the passer. He covered deep. He did everything. He covered tight ends, and he did it well. Justin, he had an awesome year as a playmaker. That's his position, is playmaker. Jabril Peppers, what is your position? Playmaker. And here's something I want to get out in front of. He wasn't most improved player. People are like, oh wow, he really improved. No, he didn't. He was a baller in 2019. He got hurt in 2019. Okay. If he doesn't get hurt in 2019, he's probably my defensive player of the year for the New York Giants in 2019. He probably, for me, it was Dalvin Tomlinson. If Peppers stays healthy, it's probably Peppers. And Peppers was the best playmaker in 2019. He played good. He covered tight ends well. He came and made the sacks come up, playing the run game, forced fumbles. I mean, Peppers is a playmaker, and it is nothing new. 2020, he was better in 2020, but it was nothing new. And it pisses me off that there are people who were down on this guy because of a perfect pass by Carson Wentz on Thursday Night Football. Talking about how this guy sucks, how he's not better in covers than Landon Collins. This guy's better than Landon Collins in every single way, and I feel so strongly about that. He's my favorite player on this defense. Justin, like, I love Jabril Peppers. I'm a Jabril Peppers stan because of the way he plays, and he's a madman. If you lay him out, he'll get up and slap you on the head and say, "Good job, I'm coming for you the next play." Peppers is what a football player and a New York Giant should be. And anybody who slanders Peppers, I'll punch in the face.
Oh, Jabril Peppers had a career year in the following statistical categories: 91 tackles, 8 tackles for loss, 11 pass deflections, 2.5 sacks. Those were all career best for him.
Could have had one more sack. They took it away when he broke Kyle Allen's ankle.
Ooh, tough.
That was a sack, and they took it away.
They felt bad.
Yeah,
they felt bad for
it was a pity penalty.
It was a pity. I like that, pity penalty. But we have some advanced analytics actually for this one. There's a frustrating part. I'm glad I get to mention this at this part of the episode that I didn't talk about it earlier. I am a little frustrated with either it's next gen or just content creators overall that put out analytics. There's not a lot available. We don't really know a lot about like secondary players outside of just targets and catches and yards and
safety linebackers. Is kind of impossible
correct.
To use that stuff.
Correct. So that's why I think everybody is still kind of figuring out what is the best way to evaluate safeties, linebackers. It's a lot easier to do it for corners. Even corners, sometimes it's misleading because if you have a team that plays a lot of zone coverage, which the Giants do play a decent amount of zone coverage, it could still sometimes be tough to how do you assign blame for who allows a play. But when I say this, know that it's not the totally most perfect system, but Jabril Peppers, I think, according to, is there any kind of ramifications of this? No, minimum. Oh, here it is. Minimum 400 coverage snaps. So Jabril Peppers with safeties with the minimum of 400 coverage snaps was the second highest targeted safety in the league. Again, it could be vague. It could be, it could not always be right. Because, how do you assign who gets targeted, who doesn't? But second highest target rate in the National Football League. But he also was very, very much above average in terms of the CPOE, which he allowed in terms of forcing incompletions, forcing, not positive plays, not allowing catches. So it actually was in the negative zones. Negative CPOE is good for a defense. Negative CPOE is bad for an offense. So Jabril Pepper is one of the best safeties in the league in that regard. And to kind of bring it back to James Bradberry again, we're talking about how much guys get targeted. I am now philosophically okay if we have defensive players who are getting targeted, so as long as they are able to make plays on the football. And Jabril Peppers can make plays on the football. He can make plays on defenders. He is a really good tackler. He can force those incompletions. And really, really good in that regard. So excited to have him. Hope he stays.
He's a dog. I want him to stay badly too. He could be one of those guys where it's, Bill Belichick style, where it's like, hey, maybe you get rid of him a year too early instead of a year too late. Well, Pep doesn't fall into that age because he's young, but they could just be like, hey, we got McKinney, we got Ryan, like we have the safety. So, there may not be a premium on bringing Peppers back, but I hope so, man. I mean, he's a captain of this team. He's a true leader in action and in word. He's loud out there. I mean, what I look for in a football player is Jabril Peppers. Like everything I look for in a player is Jabril Peppers. And he just embodies that. And that's why I love watching him and I love rooting for him.
I'm waiting for them to use him on offense.
Corner. His trainer said he could play corner.
No, on offense.
I know, but we got to get him at corner before we get him on offense.
No, we're not doing that. Stop.
Uh-huh.
We talked about this. I don't know when we did. Might have been during the offseason. This is an offseason conversation. And you see it this year. The safety is an evolving position in the National Football League.
It is. What's your
Yeah.
point?
Oh, I thought you put your finger up like 1 second. I thought you had.
Oh
I
no,
thought you had
no.
a point.
I just wanted to remind myself after you. Remember, we had an idea for an off-season episode that we were gonna do.
What was it?
We were gonna get like a third string trainer on and talk
Oh,
about how great he is.
yeah. Maybe we
I
should do that for Jonotthan Harrison.
or no, because I what about we do it for Ryan Lewis?
Ah, okay. Yeah. We
See
can
if we
do
get
that.
Ryan Lewis's trainer on. It's like this guy. Doesn't he? Do you think he has the traits to be an elite corner in the NFL? Like I see everything.
What's the
there.
player comp?
Like my player comp is a mix of Revis and what would be funny? The trainer's like, are you guys like effed in the head? Like, what are you guys talking about?
He just responds in the DM, "No, I'm not coming on your show to promote Ryan Lewis. I'm not doing that."
Yeah, he'd also be like, these people are freaking detailed. They want to talk about Ryan Lewis. Like, my God. Yes, we are. But I feel like that's kind of mean too, Like we're basically trolling a player on the New York Giants.
Yeah, that's not nice.
It's like, hey, we think you suck, but we're gonna make a joke about how you suck. So.
No, we can't do that now because we're trying to build connections with some players. We're trying to do that.
I don't know, media. I don't want to be a media scum. All right, next safety. Do we want to do? I guess we should do Logan Ryan if we're gonna go from the top guys. Logan Ryan, 5'11", 195 pounds, 30 years old. In 1 week. So his birthday is actually, when you're listening to this, 6 days from now. So happy 30th, Logan Ryan. Hey, I'm 29 now. I'm not envying that week where you're looking forward to being 30. He was signed on a 1-year deal after Xavier McKinney broke his foot. And then he got re-signed on December 25th for 3 years, $31 million. Justin, this dude was a playmaker. 94 tackles, 1 tackle for loss, 1 sack, 1 interception, 9 passes defended. He played all over. Mostly he's the free safety, but he played in that robber role. He was a guy that Patrick Graham liked to use in different ways. And when we were trying something new, Logan Ryan would be the basis of it. Logan Ryan, first year at safety, was a baller at that spot. A baller. And it was his first time playing the position, Justin.
That's a crazy concept. Even when you just look at the numbers, it's like, oh, he played at safety. He played at safety, and he wasn't like Jabril Peppers was the majority. I would say majority. If we did have a box safety, it was Peppers. His strength is coming up in the run game, coming up and being a little bit more aggressive. Peppers is also just naturally, he's a little bit more bigger and he's a little bit more athletic than Ryan is. And that's not a slight to Ryan. It's just Peppers is really that good. But he still put up those numbers from that safety spot. And that is crazy. That's another thing that we just didn't talk about enough. Logan Ryan's just good. He's good. Doing this, doing that, making pass flexions, making plays. But how many years has he been in the league, Bobby? Since 2012?
7, 8. Yeah, I think 8 years.
I can look it up right now. Look it up right now. But it's crazy that he's been in the league since 2013. I was 1 year off. 2013, played corner, slot corner for the majority. Let's just throw you at safety. Which it is. He did express during free agency that he did want to play safety. So how do you like that? I
didn't believe him, though. I didn't like when he was doing that. I viewed that as like a last gasp to get a contract in the NFL. Yeah, I really did. Like I wasn't like I liked the Logan Ryan signing, but I wasn't like Logan Ryan's going to come in here and dominate. And I thought he was going to play cornerback, but they truly did play him at safety.
And at the time, we needed cornerback help more than anything because we were freaking out about how are we going to roll out Darnay Holmes and how in the world are we going to roll out Corey Ballantyne at cornerback too? Logan Ryan, he can't go at safety. We have too much at safety. Even with Xavier McKinney out, you still felt good about what Julian Love can do. So really just a huge prove it gamble, and it played out. And, again, kind of going back to what I was saying about Darnay Holmes, just as valuable as what he was doing on the field, it was what he was also doing off the field and being that example for the younger guys and, being, really, I would say, probably Patrick Graham's like right-hand man on that defense. Really, really good. I hate how we're so boring and we're saying just guys are good, but they are.
I know it's a good position for the Giants. Yeah, I mean, you think about that interception against Washington where it's like, hey, we put that in the game plan on Saturday. Him and Graham talking. Yeah, I think. Who do you think is more of like talking with Graham and like doing stuff with him, Logan Ryan or Blake Martinez?
I think Logan Ryan.
Me too. Me too.
Yeah.
I think he is. I think he's that that natural like intellect where Blake Martinez obviously is a very smart player, but I think Logan Ryan is the guy they're really installing a ton of that stuff in with, and he does play a little quote unquote QB of the defense on the back end.
There was a game where Blake Martinez he wasn't out, but there was a point where maybe they were talking about him being out and he would have been the play caller. So you're right about that. You broke down before he came here how he plays these mind games with quarterbacks. That's how he got that interception in Washington, by the way. That's my favorite. That's my favorite moment of the year, where
it's one of my favorite plays too, because it's my favorite thing. My favorite thing about defense is disguising looks and tricking people, and that's what that was.
But that moment was he gets the interception. The Giants, they win I believe that was their first game that they won in Washington. And, at that point it was, the Giants are done, 0-5 is not a great spot. And they were,
it was the second win.
But regardless, his wife had the health problems earlier in the week, and they were down in Florida. He was up in the East Coast. He was communicating with the trainers and all that stuff. And he's just such a personable guy where he told that story during the week anyway. And, he said, oh, Joe Judge is like an awesome coach, where he told me I could do whatever I need to do. The trainer gave some resources. So hearing that story and then having that moment where then he goes into the end zone and he says to the camera, this is for you, Avery. This is for you, baby. That he dedicated to his child. It was an awesome moment. It's like, wow, this is why we root for these guys. We root for this team in particular because they're an awesome group of guys. And this is why we kind of bleed blue.
Bleeding Blue. The Bleeding Blue podcast.
I don't like the.
Why not? You don't like it being called by its name?
No, it's not the Bleeding Blue podcast. It's just Bleeding Blue.
It's basically the same. All right.
Kill me.
McKinney or Love? Let's go Love. Love. Julian Love, 5'11", 195 pounds, 22 years old, with a 4th-round pick in 2019. 64 tackles, 1 tackle for a loss, 1 interception, 1 pass defended. It was an up and down year for Julian, Justin. Hey, you are the Julian of the Trailer Park Boys, so that fits. He started the year at free safety. Wasn't great. Had some, he wasn't great against Pittsburgh or Chicago. Then the Rams game, he played 30% of the snaps. The Dallas game, plays 0%. And then he hovers around 50% to the rest of the year. And then he starts at cornerback versus Cleveland. And then the next game, he doesn't play a ton of snaps because McKinney's playing over him against Baltimore. And then he starts at corner again versus Dallas. Kind of a really weird year for a guy. And Justin, we had totally given up on the Julian Love cornerback thought. We going into the year, we're like, I think both of us were like, hey, I think he should start at cornerback too. And then they didn't. We're like, okay, they just don't view him as a corner. Give up on that dream. Then they start him at corner, and he looked pretty good. He looked pretty good at corner. He wasn't horrible. And I say above average, or maybe above average for what we expected at that spot.
Yeah.
So I don't know what to think of Julian Love going into year 3. I have no clue what to think of him. I don't know if I should try and slate him in at corner, or if he's going to be like the 4th safety after Love, Peppers, or Peppers, Ryan, and McKinney.
Options and versatility, arguably in one of the most important position groups in the NFL. And I will say that your secondary is the most important position group on your defense. Stopping the pass is the most important thing on defense. I think it's throwing the ball and stopping the pass. I know the cliche is run the ball, stop the run. The 2 most important things to do in today's NFL is to throw the ball successfully with efficiency and stopping the pass, but specifically stopping explosive plays. And if Julian Love can be that depth piece, that, a pretty decent depth piece, might we add it to. And the crazy thing about Love is, I don't even think he was playing in his primary strengths and his primary like his primary role that I think he can really flourish at, where, if we do have Logan Ryan or Jabril Peppers that does get hurt, I think he can be inserted into a role where then he can really flourish, where we're talking about him being kind of like a jack of all trades, but specifically coming up in the box and making plays there. Because when Jabril Peppers went down in 2019, that's where we got really excited for Love, and that's where he really captivated the attention of a lot of people. But his role kind of changed, where Peppers was fully healthy, Ryan was here doing whatever he needed to do, and Love's primary responsibility was playing coverage. Like, you are going to play back, you are going to be the last line of defense on this defense. So when you look at some of the numbers I was talking about for especially for Peppers, like the CPOE, that can be kind of deceiving because if you give up a big pass completion as a deep safety, that could really hurt your numbers despite you not being targeted a ton. So deep safety is a tough position to play. And for Love's strengths, I thought he did it kind of well. Not perfect, but okay.
I thought it was around average.
Yeah.
We got hyped because of his time at box safety in 2019, where he played well in that. Like, for a guy playing corner to go into that role when Peppers got hurt, he looked pretty dang good. Like,
yeah,
you were excited about Love, but you weren't like sold on Love, and you knew Peppers was going to play in that spot and play it better. Like I said, I don't know what to think of Love going forward. I don't. The one thing we do know is he's good depth and he's versatile at it.
Yes.
You thought maybe it's like, hey, maybe he can learn to be the Logan Ryan, but Logan Ryan's with the Giants for the next 2 years, basically guaranteed. I don't know. I mean, when Logan Ryan, he has a 3-year deal, but we assume that 2 years of it is really guaranteed. When that's up, those 2 years, that's the end of Julian Love's rookie contract. So I don't know. I don't know what his path is on the New York Giants.
Yeah.
Hopefully it's corner. I would love for it to be corner. Like, that's what I would like it to be. Just because, one, there's somewhat of a need there. With we talk about Yedem being the number 2. But you know what? I thought he could be a good corner. Like, he was like the number 2 corner in the nation coming out of Notre Dame. Like, I thought he was going to be a good corner.
Yeah.
And they for not practicing at corner and playing like he did at corner, I think there could be a little bit of hope for that. So we're going to do the whole damn thing again this year going into training camp.
Yep. I'm glad they finally did it, though. I'm glad they pulled the trigger, and they kind of had to, especially for that Cleveland game, because Bradberry was out, where it's like, well, I guess now, crap. We fans, everybody's finally, we've been asking about this for years. Now we're finally going to see it. They had no other choice. And Cleveland, it was 4 for 4 completions, 5 targets, 68 yards. But again, it could be deceiving because they're playing zone. And then Dallas, it was 4 completions, 8 targets for 52 yards.
Which, isn't great, but it's not bad either.
Yeah. Eye test when you watch it says he did a better job than that.
Yeah. He had a couple dropped interceptions too. I think he had the most dropped interceptions on the team. I mean, Seattle, he had one. There's probably, I think there was like 3 times where he dropped an interception.
Yeah. And the one bad play that I remember for him playing deep safety was Los Angeles, the big touchdown to Cup that kind of went through him.
Yeah, and that was like more of like a miscommunication, blown coverage. Miscommunion. All right, last on the list, we got Xavier McKinney, the rookie, 6 foot, 201 pounds, 21 years old, was a 2nd-round pick. Broke his foot in camp, which ended up leading to the Ryan signing, like we talked about. At first, he came in and played spy, and then Bradberry gets COVID and Holmes gets injured, and he plays nickel corner and did a pretty good job of that. And then they started using him in that versatile safety role. Justin, he had 25 tackles, a tackle for loss, 1 interception to close the season out versus Dallas, and 1 pass defended. I really do view – I think he solidified himself as that number 3 safety, where it's like, hey, you got Peppers who's going to play more in the box, and you got Ryan and McKinney who are going to alternate what they're doing, whether it's playing that deep safety, playing down, coming down, on a receiver. I think McKinney solidified his role going forward as a number 3 safety. And in today's NFL, number 3 safety, a lot of times is basically just a starter.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if kind of he does take Julian Love's role. Now, that does scare me a little bit because similar to Julian Love, Xavier McKinney's strengths is not in coverage all the time. It is mixing up him in coverage, but also coming up and playing in the run game. Maybe they do change up the roles a little bit next year. Maybe, you know, maybe we have more than one safety in the box with Blake Martinez. Sure, let's get really crazy. Let's get really aggressive. Having Xavier McKinney is going to, especially for hopefully 16 games fully healthy, I think will only make this defense a lot more confusing to analyze and prepare for. And even in coverage, where McKinney was playing Love's role as kind of a deep half safety, McKinney was reacting pretty well in the Dallas and Baltimore games. There were some missed tackles and bad angles that he had in the Baltimore game against Gus Edwards that led to some very big plays. But for what you're expecting Xavier McKinney to do when he's coming off of how many months of not conditioning on a foot injury and just learning the game in the secondary, thought he played great. I mean, he had the game-sealing interception against Dallas, and they had another interception against Dallas, which they took off the board because of a penalty. He blew up a screenplay, like a wide receiver screenplay against Dallas, which that's what he did at Alabama, and you love to see that aggressiveness personify itself in the NFL. I'm excited for Xavier McKinney.
And he dunked on Skip Bayless.
Yeah. When did you do that?
Right after the Dallas game, because Skip's like, I wouldn't draft this guy. And then he had to pick the win the Dallas game.
Good for him.
Good for McKinney. X-Man. We got an X-Man battle. All right, Justin, that's our episode. That's our DB review. Defensive backs, not douchebag review. We appreciate you guys. We'll be back on Friday. Maybe we'll have an O-line coach by then. I mean, the Giants are interviewing some guys, so maybe we'll have an O-line coach by then. If Coach Judge hits me up, I'm like, hey man, I'm about to hire this guy. What do you think of him? Maybe we'll break that news, but probably
he may do
not.
that.
Yeah, and he's like, hey man, I know we only met one time, and then you ambushed me, but I want to start giving you news. So we'll see. Anything is possible. We appreciate you guys. We'll see you on Friday. Until then, let's go Big Blue.